2024, but 2024 has already brought challenges and chaos in so many ways and in so many different areas of my life. However, I'm navigating it all and still being stretched to new realms and new dimensions. And while it has not been easy, the beautiful thing about it is that I've unlocked my potential in profound ways and made progress. And so I think we have to reframe our context of challenges. A lot of us, when we hear the word challenge, we have such a negative connotation. And I always tell people if the perspective is wrong, then the outcome is going to be wrong. Write that down. If the perspective is wrong, the outcome is going to be wrong. And so a lot of us are confused at why we're not making the progress that we want to make, but we have to understand that our perspective shapes our progress. And if the perspective is wrong, the path is going to be wrong, the outcome is going to be wrong, and you're not going to get to the expected end or destination that you want to get to with your life. And so you have to reframe the narrative that you have created in your mind around challenges. I don't see challenges as a barrier. I see them as a birthing place for breakthroughs, for momentum, for manifestation in my life. And I want to challenge you to do the same in the days to come. When pressure is applied to our lives, we really only have two options. We can either attempt to relieve the pressure, or we can accept the pressure and lean into it. And a lot of people say, ooh, that's good, but think about it. When the pressure is on you and it's put on you so strongly in your life, are you trying to avoid and relieve it and alleviate it, or are you willing to lean into that pressure so that you can move your life forward and get to the next level? I think a lot of people talk a very good talk, but the minute that pressure is applied to their lives, we discover that they're not who they say they are, because pressure will always reveal the most authentic version of who you are. It's easy to say who you are when everything is going well and life is a bed of roses and Kool-Aid is coming out of the fountain and you're just walking on sunshine. It's a totally different thing when all the fires of adversity and the trials of life are being thrown at you. How will you respond in that moment? And how you respond in that moment is the greatest litmus test of who you are, what you stand for, and the surety of your foundation and values and principles as a human being. And what a lot of us discover is that we're not who we think we are, because it's easy to proclaim who you are when there has been no pressure applied to your life. It's much more difficult to demonstrate that when pressure and adversity is coming up against your life. And so you have to make a decision that you're going to lean into the pressure and you're going to leverage it as an opportunity to unleash your greatest potential and to become the person that you were created and destined to be. Many of you listening to me are probably saying you can think of a better opinion and that or better option for you, and that option would be to run. And a lot of people do attempt to run from pressure. But one of the things that I always say to people is that anything that you run from will rule you. Write that down. Anything that you keep running from is going to rule your life. And how many people have I met over the years that are being ruled by self-limiting beliefs and perceptions, fears, phobias, trauma, soul wounds, deep-seated pain, all types of scenarios, childhood trauma, things that have controlled them well into their adulthood, and it's mastering their life because they keep avoiding it and they won't deal with the things that they need to deal with so that they can become who they were created and destined to be. And so the problem with this is that it causes you to shrink back and it undermines your potential. Escaping may feel good temporarily, but it ultimately comes at the expense of your transformation. And so I always tell people, do you want to escape? Do you want to run? Or do you really want to see transformation in your life? Because as I said, anything you run from will rule you, and anything you keep escaping will always have the power to enslave you and hold you captive. And so I don't know about you, but I don't like anything being in control and dominating and mastering my life. So because of how I'm wired, that's something that I have to be willing to get in the ring and contend against if I want to see change or breakthrough happen in my life. What you are running from is the very tool that will usher you into new possibilities for your life. I always say stop running and let it refine you. There is something in that resistance that you're running from that wants to refine you and to help you to become the greatest version of yourself, the greatest expression of who you were created to be. And at some point, you have to stop running, because a lot of us are running from ghosts. It's not even real. It is a narrative that we have constructed in our own minds that is based on our own story and our own self-limiting beliefs and perception. It's based on a flawed assessment of ourselves because we have been damaged and unhealthy in our souls and our outlook of ourselves that causes us to keep running and to feel like everything is against us or everybody is against us, when the real enemy is the person in the mirror that's staring us in the face that we refuse to deal with, that's robbing us of the reality that we really want to see. So instead of hiding in a corner, what I have been doing is harnessing the force of courage in my life so that I can experience real and meaningful change. For every giant and every impossibility can only be crushed in your life through courage. Every giant, every impossibility in your life can only be crushed through courage. Let's talk about this for a moment. Courage is not only the currency of change. Courage is the currency of growth. Write that down. Courage is not only the currency of change, it is the currency of growth. And what I've learned, especially this year, as I'm growing personally, as I'm growing in terms of entrepreneurship and business, I'm learning that for each of these giants, for each impossibility, for each barrier that would attempt to block you from the next realm and dimension, the only way that you're going to confront this and conquer these things in your life is through courage. And so it brings us to an important question. What is courage? Courage is not just the absence of fear. Courage is ultimately the clarity of what you're contending for and the cost associated with it. Write that down. Courage is the clarity of what you're contending for and the cost associated with it. So before we say that we have courage, have you identified the clarity of what you're contending for and the cost associated with it? Because if we're going to employ courage in our lives, you got to have clarity about what are you contending for. Because there's nothing more devastating and disastrous than a person engaged in a fight that has not taken the time to assess what they are fighting for. And if you don't know what you're fighting for, then you've already entered into a fight that is going to be engineered for your failure. Every great champion has taken the time to understand and to determine and clarify what they're fighting for. And then you have to understand the cost that is associated with that, not only having understanding of what you're fighting for, but understanding that that's going to come at a price and being willing to pay that price to see certain things become a reality in your life. In other words, courage is understanding that you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by defying odds and dismantling impossibilities. Let me say it again. It's coming to a point of resolution where you understand that you have nothing to lose and everything to gain by defying the odds and dismantling impossibilities. I always aim to be transparent with you, and the reality is that the journey will be filled with hurdles. What I've discovered is that hurdles can either hijack your potential or become the engine that drives you into higher possibilities and realities for your life. And so what other people see as hurdles, I often see as catalysts. And so a lot of times people will tell me, oh, Jamel, I'm just giving up. This is too hard. this is too difficult. So-and-so said no to me. The loan didn't